Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we turn massive research reports into the essential knowledge you need to be instantly informed. Today, we're undertaking a fascinating and, frankly, pretty volatile deep dive. We're looking at the complex regulatory overhaul of Armenia's iGaming landscape.
Yeah, it's a really interesting case study. This South Caucasus market saw truly explosive digital growth,
Absolutely explosive.
only to have the government, well, slam the brakes pretty hard with a huge legislative and financial shakeup, all rolled out just this year in 2025.
And we're dissecting this based on one extremely thorough source, the Armenia iGaming Market Entry Analysis, Complete 2025 Guide.
That's right. This report comes directly from the Gambling Databases research team.
And we should probably tell you listening who they are. The Gambling Databases team is dedicated to delivering really in-depth analyses of the global iGaming landscape.
Their country-specific reports, like the one we're using today, they dig into everything. Local regulations, tax structures, player experience, what's like for operators.
Emerging trends, too.
Exactly. The goal is always to give a clear, data-driven understanding of how the gambling industry actually works in each market and, what makes it unique.
So our mission today is to unpack how this market functions, especially now with these strict new localization rules and, well, a challenging new tax structure. It's quite the setup.
It really is.
And the numbers that underpin this whole story are, well, they're pretty astounding. You need to get ready for this.
Yeah.
A high-growth market where total wagers grew, get this, 17-fold in just 6 years.
17 times. It's hard to even picture.
Right. But now, the price of entry for any new operator includes a $1.5 million annual license fee, payable upfront,
Oof. Yeah.
and a punishing 10% turnover tax. It's like a gold rush that suddenly got hit with a massive toll bridge.
That's a good way to put it. And to really understand why the government reacted so strongly, we first have to look at the foundations that, made this market so successful in the first place.
Okay, set the stage for us.
So Armenia is relatively small population-wise, just under 3 million people, 2.95 million to be precise, but it's showing undeniable economic momentum.
Right.
The sources show the GDP per capita hit $8,866 USD in 2025. Now that figure has nearly doubled in just 5 years.
Wow, okay. So real growth in spending power.
Exactly, rising consumer spending power. And critically, the median age is 36.6 years. That's pretty much perfect for developing a highly engaged, working-age gambling market.
And the digital side, how ready were they?
Very ready. Their digital infrastructure is mature. Internet penetration is high. We're talking 85%. Smartphone penetration, over 80%.
So most people are online and have smartphones.
Yeah, but the number that really jumps out is mobile penetration, 120%.
Wait, 120%? How does that work?
Multiple SIM cards per person. It means 3.5 million mobile subscriptions in a country of under 3 million. It signals this is absolutely a mobile-first, multi-device market. And they're building out the infrastructure quickly, too. The 5G rollout is aggressive. By 2025, it covered 65% of the population across 35 cities. This kind of connectivity easily supports sophisticated iGaming platforms.
Making it ideal for online casinos, specifically.
Definitely, especially the complex, data-heavy ones.
Okay, so let's talk market size then. What are we looking at in terms of revenue?
Total market revenue is projected at about $205.22 million USD for 2025. But here's the really key insight for anyone thinking about entering. This is overwhelmingly a casino market.
How skewed is it?
Massively skewed. Online casino games dominate the revenue, about $127.35 million. Compare that to online sports betting, which only brought in around $11.8 million.
So casino gaming is generating, what, more than 10 times the revenue of sports betting?
10 times, yeah. It's startling. If you're entering this market, your entire focus from marketing to platform development, it has to prioritize the casino vertical. It's just not a balanced market at all.
Exactly. Now let's get back to that volume number. We teased that 17-fold increase in wagers between 2018 and 2024. That ended up being AMD's $7 trillion, which is roughly 17.7 billion US dollars wagered in 2024 alone. Now, is that 17-fold growth a sign of just like organic hypergrowth? Or does it maybe suggest that the old rules weren't really capturing everything effectively?
Look, that number is just too enormous to be purely organic growth. The report strongly suggests it's highly indicative of previously unregulated or let's say, underreported activity being pulled, at least partially, into the system.
Uh,
Or maybe it just reflects a completely unchecked digital environment before these changes. But that massive transaction volume, nearly $18 billion flowing through the system, that's precisely what triggered the government intervention. They needed to assert control.
So that brings us to the regulatory lockdown. The Regulation of Gaming Activities Law that came into effect January 2025. Let's unpack that.
Right. The first, most visible change was raising the minimum gambling age, bumped up from 18 to 21 years old.
Effective January 2025.
Correct. Now, that immediately shrinks the addressable market size, obviously, but it clearly signals the government's intent. Prioritize social protection, maybe even over maximizing revenue right now.
Okay, beyond the age limit, the rules around actually operating there sound incredibly strict. This isn't just about getting a license and setting up a website, is it?
Absolutely not. The 2025 laws show Armenia is serious about making this a fortress market. First, online operators must establish a registered commercial entity, a real company, in Armenia.
Standard enough, maybe, but what's the big one?
The real game changer and the real hurdle for international operators is the server localization mandate. All gaming servers, software, hardware, and the gaming platforms themselves. They must be physically located within Armenian territory.
Physically located. Setting up all those servers and software inside Armenia, I mean, that sounds like a massive logistical challenge. What does that actually mean for a typical international operator's tech stack?
It forces a fundamental shift. You can't just use your usual flexible, maybe cloud-based global setup. You have to commit to a massive physical data center presence in Armenia.
Oh.
This dramatically changes the capital expenditure, the CapEx required just to get started. It's not just a legal hurdle, it's a physical, technological lock.
Okay. And there's more.
Oh, yeah. On top of that, Armenian residents are now prohibited from gambling on foreign sites, and advertising those foreign services is banned too.
So they're trying to build a digital wall
Yeah.
around the country's gambling activity.
Pretty much, backed by mandatory compliance checks against the Ministry of Finance's central self-exclusion list and, of course, strict KYCML standards. They want everything happening inside their regulated, visible system.
So why? Why this intense focus on localization? It seems extreme.
Well, the report details the government's strategy quite clearly. They know a complete ban on gambling doesn't work. People would just use foreign, unlicensed websites anyway.
Okay. VPNs and whatnot.
Exactly. So this system is designed to funnel all that activity into a domestic, taxable, controlled environment where the government has physical oversight of the technology and, crucially, the data. They want it all onshore.
Okay. Now, here's where it gets, as you said, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The financial reality. For any operator trying to actually play by these new rules, forget the CapEx for servers for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The upfront fixed costs alone seem designed to scare off most potential entrants.
Yeah, are significant, yes.
That annual online gambling license fee is a staggering AMD $600 million, which translates to roughly $1.5 million USD.
And crucially, as you said, payable upfront.
That massive upfront payment, it feels like it's intentionally filtering the market, right? Favoring established players with deep pockets over, say, startups.
Absolutely. It acts as a kind of stability filter. It basically says only serious, well-capitalized players need apply.
And if that $1.5 million entry ticket wasn't enough of a shock.
Then came the tax transformation in 2025, which is, frankly, devastating to operator margins.
Walk us through that. It wasn't just one change, right?
No, it was staged. Initially, in April 2025, they temporarily doubled the existing per-bet duties. For example, online casinos went from 0.175% per bet to 0.35%. But that was just a placeholder, really.
A warm-up act for the main event in July 2025.
Exactly. That's when the major shift happened. They implemented a 10% turnover tax on all licensed gambling activities, and this completely replaced those per-bet duties.
Okay, pause there. For our listeners, especially those used to maybe Western European markets,
Yeah.
this is critical. This is not a tax on gross gaming revenue, or GGR.
No, absolutely not. GGR tax is on operator profit stakes minus winnings paid out.
This 10% tax is applied to the total amount of money staked or wagered, the turnover.
Correct. Every dollar or dram wagered. As any operator knows, a tax on turnover, especially at 10%, it can completely wipe out margins. It's almost unheard of globally for a major casino market.
So the government isn't messing around. They're clearly using this tax mechanism for massive revenue generation. How much are they actually projecting to bring in from this?
The report indicates they project this shift will generate an additional AMD $100 billion annually for the state. That's roughly $241.9 million USD.
Wow. Nearly $250 million extra per year.
Yeah. That money is clearly targeted for the state coffers and presumably for funding all the new enforcement mechanisms required by these laws.
And what about the players? Are they taxed too?
Yes, and the operator has a role there too. Operators have to act as tax agents, withholding taxes on winnings.
How does that work?
It's a two-tier system. 5% is withheld on significant large wins, and then there's a 10% tax on accumulated smaller wins, which players declare annually.
Okay. And there's a threat hanging over the operators too, right?
Yeah.
Something about future tax hikes.
Yes, a massive incentive for future compliance, you could say. There's an escalation clause tied to a new gambling monitoring center. It's scheduled to be operational by 2028.
And if it's not operational on time?
If it fails to launch as planned, the legislation allows for tax rates to potentially increase 3, 4, or even 5-fold.
A 5-fold increase on a 10% turnover tax.
Unthinkable, basically. It's a huge sword of Damocles hanging over every operator's head, ensuring cooperation with the monitoring system rollout.
Okay, so moving on to the operational reality.
Yeah.
You've paid your $1.5 million. You're grappling with the 10% turnover tax. You've set up servers in Armenia. Now you need customers. But marketing is also heavily restricted now, right?
Extremely restricted. It adds another layer of difficulty. First off, only locally licensed operators can advertise at all. Foreign sites are completely out.
Makes sense with the localization push.
And all advertising content must strictly target audiences 21 years or older, matching that new minimum gambling age.
And the constraints on where and when you can advertise seem pretty severe too.
They are. TV and radio advertising, restricted to a late-night window, 10:00 p.m. to 6:00 a.m. only.
So say goodbye to any kind of primetime visibility.
Absolutely. And beyond time restrictions, there are geographic bans. No promotions allowed at Armenian entry points, airports, border crossings, and also banned in hotels.
They really want to limit public exposure. What happens if you slip up?
Real consequences. There are graduated fines for violations starting at AMD $1 million, which is about $2,500 USD. And those can escalate quickly. They are clearly determined to reduce the overall visibility of gambling across the country.
Okay, so if we connect all these dots, the massive fee, the crippling turnover tax, the mandatory server localization, the severe advertising limits, you have to ask why. Why did the government push such aggressive, such restrictive changes all at once?
Well, if you connect this to the bigger picture, the answer is actually rooted in a pretty devastating social crisis that was unfolding.
Go on.
The problem gambling crisis in Armenia had become truly alarming. The analysis shows that the number of problem gamblers actually grew tenfold in just 5 years leading up to these reforms.
Tenfold, that's staggering.
It's an unsustainable level of growth socially, and it led to profound, tragic consequences that essentially forced the government's hand. Legislative action became unavoidable.
And this is where that really alarming detail comes in, isn't it? The report mentions parliamentary testimony.
Yes. It revealed that military suicides linked to gambling debt had become a major national concern.
How major?
According to that testimony, over half of all military suicides in 2024 were attributed to gambling problems.
Over half. Wow. Okay, that detail changes the entire context of these regulations, doesn't it? This isn't just about maximizing state revenue anymore.
Not at all. It casts it as a critical societal intervention, a public health response almost.
It's a profound tragedy, and frankly, it justifies why the measures are so strict.
Yeah.
So pulling it all together, what does this mean?
It means the stringent 2025 reforms, the age increase to 21, the mandatory self-exclusion lists, the strict advertising limits, and especially those massive tax hikes and fees, they are a direct legislative response aimed squarely at curbing this widespread social harm.
Using the mechanism of high taxation and high barriers to entry to fund enforcement and simply to deter excessive participation.
Exactly. It's a compelling, but as we've discussed, extremely expensive social license to operate in Armenia now.
Right. So to quickly review the key takeaways for you, the listener, Armenia offers access to a high-growth, digitally mature user base, which is attractive. But market entry demands extremely high capitalization. Remember that $1.5 million annual upfront fee.
And navigating incredibly complex, strict compliance, including that mandatory server localization and the big one, that margin-crushing 10% turnover tax.
A market opportunity is still there technically, but the hurdles seem deliberately designed to filter out almost everyone except the most established, deep-pocketed international operators.
That certainly appears to be the intent.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to chew on. The Armenian government aims to extract almost $242 million in additional annual revenue from this industry. Will this unprecedented financial pressure from the high fixed costs and that punishing turnover tax actually force the operators who do enter or stay to innovate, to dramatically differentiate their offerings just to survive?
Or will these steep barriers ultimately just restrict the market to only a handful of large established giants, potentially limiting competition and maybe even player choice in the long run?
It's a question that will likely determine the shape of iGaming, not just in Armenia, but maybe as a model in the South Caucasus for the next decade.
It certainly will be fascinating to watch unfold.
We hope this deep dive into the Armenian iGaming environment has given you the necessary context and those crucial data points to understand this really volatile and rapidly changing market.
And remember, for the full text of this analysis and other detailed country reports from the Gambling Databases research team,
You can visit the website at gamblingdatabases.com.
that's gamblingdatabases.com.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.